Hey everyone, Dr. Luke Peterson here, physical therapist with the Knee Replacement Therapist. In this episode of the Knee to Know Show, we're going to go over some simple beginner level exercises for strengthening your hamstring muscles either before or after surgery. Before I jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications to catch all of our latest videos related to knee replacement surgery, exercises, preparation, recovery, frequently asked questions, and everything else in between. Thank you very much for watching. Our first exercise is bridging. So what you're going to do is lay down on your back with your feet and knees bent up so your feet are flat on the surface. Now, to make sure the movement is coming from your hips and your legs, we want to make sure to put our pelvis and low back in a good position. So we're actually going to do a posterior or backward pelvic tilt. And to do this, all you want to think about is pushing your low back down into the surface that you're on. Now keep that belly button tucked and your low back pushed down into the surface as you perform this movement. And you're going to lift your bottom up and then back down. Lift up and down. From there, the bridging can be progressed, such as going to a single leg bridge to put some further emphasis on certain muscle groups, certain sides, and also just to make the exercise more intense and more difficult. Our next exercise is supine hamstring curls or knee bends. And you could do this one, I like to do it with the physio ball, but you can also use furniture gliders and putting the two furniture gliders on your feet and doing the same exact movements. So what you're going to do is lay on your back with your feet up on the ball or the furniture gliders or something that can slide if you have that available. And the first progression is just bending your knees, bringing them toward your head, and then back down. Bringing them up and then back down. You can also do the same thing, just one leg at a time. And then to make this a little more difficult and get a more intense activation of your hamstrings, you're actually going to perform a bridge, so lifting your bottom up off the surface and now performing those hamstring curls the same way while keeping your bottom up off the surface throughout the movement. Our next exercise is seated knee flexion. So you can take a resistance band and tie it to something in front of you or stick it in the doorway in front of you. And then you want to sit in a chair that will allow you to bring your knee and your foot backward. So sitting forward in the chair, all you're going to do is bend your knee back as far as you can and then slowly come back up. Bending back and slowly back up. The next exercise is standing knee flexion. So you're going to stand. You can have your arms supported, and you're just going to bend your knee backward, trying to bring your heel up toward your bottom, and then slowly back down. Try not to extend the hip outward as you do this, like this. You really want to just focus on bending the knee and then back down. You can add some ankle weights to add a little more resistance to this exercise as well. The next exercise is deadlifts, specifically looking at Romanian deadlifts that are going to emphasize the hamstring muscles a little bit more specifically. So you can either do it with holding dumbbells in both hands, is how I like to do it. You can do it with one dumbbell or a kettlebell, just holding it in both hands in front of you like this as well. And what you're going to do is start in this up position, so with the dumbbells or whatever you're using, holding them in your hands. And with this type of deadlift, we're really going to emphasize the movement coming from the hips, the hip hinge type movement. So you're not going to get a lot of bending or flexion of the knees. Your knees are going to stay either relatively straight or just with a slight bend in them to start. And you're really going to focus on that hip hinge movement. So keeping your back in a relatively neutral posture, you're going to bring your hips backward, slowly lowering as far as you feel comfortable, and then coming back up. Notice we're not doing a significant bend of the hips. We're focusing, lowering, doing that hip hinge posterior, and then coming back up. This way you'll start to emphasize the hamstrings a little bit more with the motion. So again, hip hinge, keeping the back up in a neutral posture, and then coming back up. The next exercise is single leg deadlifts. So you can do this one either using one dumbbell, or kettlebells work great as well, or something similar that you can hold on to. And so you're going to stand on one leg, and again we're going to emphasize that hip hinge movement, keeping the back in a relatively neutral posture and just hinging at the hips and bringing them backward. And as you do that, you're going to hold the dumbbell or kettlebell in the same side as the leg that's coming up behind you. So it will look a little bit like this, doing that hip hinge and then coming back up. I'll be the first to admit that my technique is not great with this exercise. I really need to practice it more, but the idea is, again, keeping a relatively neutral spine, hinging at the hips, bringing that leg up behind you, and then coming back up like this.